What's up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to another edition of FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, my guy for the third time today, I'm linking up with him, Chief Justice 06, Will Priester. How you doing, buddy?
Listen, man, I think everybody in the company, Kirk Dees, Chop, Dean, Roth, let's see who else has been a regular. Anyway, all of the regulars, Taylor, they need to thank us today because we've been doing the heavy lifting for them early, which I did have a blitz show, obviously. Keith, Tim, the whole gang. Look at these beautiful faces because we're the reason that you're out with your family eating chicken wings and watching football tonight. These beautiful faces. But anyway, happy to be here, Taylor. Glad to see you, brother TJ. You know we do this thing every weekend, and everybody that's out there listening and chatting with us, we appreciate you guys. Good to see you on a Saturday.
We don't have our typical Saturday crunch time Tim with us today, but we do have 2/3 of the three T's. We got Taylor Smith joining us as well. How you doing?
I'm good. Got Embiid news to wait on, so gonna be fun. We'll probably get it right at 7:01.
You guys can give me an honorary T name, and that way, if I come in on a Saturday, then maybe I'm not Chief or I'm not Will. I'm somebody else.
You're Trill.
Trill. Let's
Trill
go with
Priester.
That. Trill. I like it. Let's go with that. Trill, TJ, and Taylor.
There it is. I like it. Anyone who's watching us on YouTube, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Free content on a Saturday. We want to keep giving you these shows for all the slates possible, even these small ones on the weekend. And in order to do that, we need to keep our sponsor, FanDuel, happy. And the way that happens is getting lots of likes on these YouTube videos. So smash that like button for us. It really does wonders. We appreciate it. And like I mentioned, FanDuel is sponsored by FanDuel. New users can bet $5 any money line, get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Biggest news of the slate, we're still waiting on Joel Embiid. He wasn't on the injury report all day. They didn't really drop a questionable for him. They said he is a game-time decision out of nowhere. My lean is that he plays, but like you said, Taylor, probably not going to get this news because it's Philly. This is what they do until 7:01, minute after lock, since that game doesn't start till 7:30. Give me a slate breakdown overview, because even though this is a 4-game slate, it feels like it's a really good 4-game slate, or if not good, it's going to be a really high-scoring 4-game slate, because we got the Knicks against Washington, we got Boston against Indiana, Philly at Utah. Those are the three of the best matchups possible. Even Houston gets a big pace-up spot against Milwaukee today. So break down the slate for me. What are we doing in cash games?
Yeah, so this should be pretty high scoring, like you said. Like every game has a high total. At least one team in every game has a 120 or above total. But every spread, I think, is at least 6 or 7 points. So there is blowout potential in every single game. But as a result, I'm just kind of playing it straight, not really playing for blowouts. But it's certainly viable to do that in tournaments for sure. As far as cash goes on FanDuel, Tyrese Maxey gets a big usage boost with Tobias and DeAnthony Melton out. He's 8,700 over here. He's a great play even if Embiid is in. He's an obvious top play on the slate if Embiid is out. So playing him either way is the way to go in cash. I tagged him over Brunson just because of that. And he is slightly cheaper than Brunson on DK, which comes in handy over there. I do think in cash on FanDuel, you're just playing both and moving on with point guard. It's that easy. Brunson against the Wizards, great matchup for the Knicks tonight. Going to be getting to a lot of them. Let's see. Shooting guard Jalen Green looks good. He gets a pretty good usage boost with Dylan Brooks still out. For Houston, matchup against Milwaukee is favorable too. The Bucks still have it like the 18th best defensive rating in the league or something like that. So happy to get to him as a shooting guard play. OG Anunoby has been pretty bad since coming to the Knicks, but Should see 35 plus minutes in a great matchup. Good bounce back spot for him tonight. Happy to go there again in all formats here. Kelly Oubre, see plenty of minutes with Melton and Tobias out. Again, should see more usage if Embiid also sits, but cheap enough to get to in all formats at 61 on FanDuel. Good cash play at either shooting guard or small forward. Josh Hart looks better on DK than FanDuel, but still playable on FanDuel. Guard forward eligibility. Minutes have been solid even off the bench for him. The Knicks rotation's a little thinner now that they dumped 2 guys and brought in Anunoby. So he is a pretty good play, even though he's better on DK. Couple of value forwards you can look at: Nick Batum and Daniel House for the Sixers. I would prefer not to play House if I can avoid it. He's got a low ceiling and a low floor, but the minute should be there since they are shorthanded without a couple of starters here. Similar thing with Batum. I think he's a little more trustworthy as a starter at 4 for Philly. Denny Avdija is fine, kind of as a last piece in cash. Julius Randle, for the same reason Brunson stands out. He stands out on FanDuel. Easy to get to Randle, Maxey, and Brunson in a build, so I think that's the way to go. In cash, Marcus Morris, maybe more of a tournament guy. John Collins, maybe more of a DK guy. And at center, the one that's popping into most optimals is Alperon Şengün against the Bucks. Maybe not the best matchup, but good price tag on him, 9K flat. And Embiid is quite expensive over here, so he's more in play on DK.
Yeah, I agree with you. Embiid was popping into a lot more stuff for me on DraftKings earlier in the day, especially just because that 12.6 price tag on FanDuel is quite restrictive. Chief, how about you? Who you liking in tournaments today? Start me at the point guard position.
Listen, man, I think it's probably Tyrese Maxey day, and that's chalky. But listen, man, all chalk isn't created equal, and all chalk isn't bad chalk. So I think that's chalk we need to get involved with. You know, I thought this guy may have come in a little bit less chalky. Guess what? He's more chalky than Tyrese Maxey, and that's Jalen Brunson. So it's like you can't on such a small slate. I don't think you can avoid the good plays. I will say this: tournament style, full blown tournament. You just take Damian Lillard in a tough matchup against Houston and hope he goes nuts, because he's not going to get nearly the same ownership as some of these other guys here. So I don't hate Dame. Like I'm all about it. Like when you look at his ownership compared to everyone else's, Brunson is at 41% on FanDuel. Maxey's at 43%. Dame sandwich right in between, Taylor. At 13%. Dame is like the ultimate tournament play on this kind of slate. Not the easiest matchup in the world, but I think it's enough to get different. And on the other side of that game, you could also throw in Fred VanVleet into the mix there. So I like him a ton.
Freddie's the guy that I like. Freddie's the guy that I like there in tournaments too. That's the pivot off of Brunson and Maxey that I'd want to go with. I also want to just throw in quick as well, TJ McConnell. He could, even in 20 minutes, he could get there. But if he happens to play, I think this is more of a DraftKings play, but even still, you run in a lot of lineups. Keep McConnell in your pool. If he plays 20 minutes, he could 5-6x. If this game gets ugly and he plays 28 minutes, he could break the slate.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of a point per dollar perspective, believe it or not, on FanDuel, it's just not great. Jalen Green is like the closest thing we have to some type of a point per dollar play. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches here. I do think getting in Oubre is going to be fine, even though he's a little bit more expensive probably than he should be. I don't mind Benedict Mathurin in a game where maybe the game gets a little out of control and he plays a few extra minutes late. I'd love for Boston to just blow the doors off Indiana, and all these starters can just sit in the fourth quarter. Josh Hart has a couple tags here, but I mean, when he's facing Washington, it's going to get such a nice minutes load. I don't hate squeezing him in as well. Moving on to small forward. Small forward is probably, let's call it, the most interesting position tonight. to me anyway. Just because, up top you've got Tatum, but it's just not a lot after that. Like, you can play Jaylen Brown, you can play Lauri Markkanen, you can play Kuzma, you can play Middleton, but who do you love? If you guys remember that old song, I don't love anyone, and so I just kind of find myself trying to make do with flexible salary savers, where Josh Hart kind of comes in again, Benedict comes in again, Bilal Coulibaly, like just making do with a lot of random guys. So that's kind of where I am at small forward. I think if I had to play one guy, it's probably Jaylen Brown, but I don't really like that price. Power forward is a spot I actually like tonight. I don't hate Giannis even in a tough spot. I don't hate Julius Randle, but I mean, he's getting a lot of ownership. And then you've got Aaron Nesmith, who's going to pick up some minutes, so probably a little bit overpriced. The sneaky guy is probably Bobby Portis in tournaments where he's going to get some minutes in this game and could possibly, put up some form of a nice fantasy performance. I do have a question for you, Taylor, and I know it's kind of for cash game tournaments as well. Like, how are you valuing Nicholas Batum tonight? Like, I feel like he could get more minutes than we're projecting, but it's still, his name is still Nicholas Batum. So that's the hang up here. How are you feeling about Batum? Because he might be a necessary evil in tournaments for some salary relief.
Yeah, I do like him a lot more than House. Like I was saying earlier, the question is, like, Covington's also questionable. So, if Covington's out, then I'd feel a lot better about Batum. They also have Marcus Morris they can run out there. They have KJ Martin kind of on the fringes. So they have a lot of options they can fill these minutes with. I do think Batum is fine, though. Like, among the really weak forwards, I feel the best about his minutes.
Yeah. Okay. And that was my read. Like, I'm probably just going to have to get him in tournaments because I don't trust anyone. At the center position. Now, here's where it gets interesting to me. TJ, how many centers are above 7K?
Miles Turner, Hartenstein, Şengün, Porzingis, and Embiid. 5.
How many of those centers do you actually want to play above 7K?
2. Şengün and Embiid.
Exactly. Like, this is wild to me that this range is just kind of garbage this season. Like, Hartenstein is 7,700. He probably should be more like 6K. And we're just not getting the real value. I think for me, if Embiid plays, I'm just going to spin up for Embiid and lock it in. Like, he's at 28% ownership. I just think you just need to get massive exposure. Embiid. He's the one guy on this slate, maybe him and Giannis, but due to the matchup, Embiid's the one guy on this slate that could just leave you sitting at home crying on a Saturday night on a 4 or 5 game slate. So give me Embiid. Like, he's the alpha dog here as long as he plays. And the questionable tag may be helping us. So I love it.
Don't forget about his power forward position, but don't forget about some Jason Tatum today as well. I think he makes for a great tournament play. And then, of course, for cash and tournaments, if Embiid is out and Paul Reed pops in the starting lineup like we expect, I think you play him in 100% of lineups tonight. The center is not as strong as it usually is. It's only a 4-game slate. I think you play Embiid. You definitely play him in cash, correct, Taylor?
Yeah, and that kind of helps us out because we don't have to really dig around with Batum and those guys if we get that. So Paul Reed is a significantly better play if we get that opening up for sure.
Yeah, I saw one of those questions in the RotoGrinders Discord live stream chat. Is Paul Reed a lock if Embiid is out? And I don't even think that's like a figurative lock. It's a literal lock. You play him in cash games in 100% of tournament lineups today. Get your questions in. I'll be going to the RotoGrinders Discord live stream chat first. Make sure you join the Discord. It is free to use, free to join. rotogrinders.com/discord, and then I'll be going to the YouTube chat for questions second. Make sure you are smashing that like button over there. Let's take this over to DraftKings before we get to some QQs as I make the pivot here. Let's talk about the props and pick'em package, because there's NBA tonight, there's NFL tonight, there's 10 NHL games. So lots of good props and pick'em opportunities, and you can get access to RotoGrinders' all-new props and pick'em package at a special holiday discount, driven by the RG Premium Projections. Our tool combs through your favorite sports books and fantasy pick'em sites to find you the best picks for the best odds, and for a limited time, you can get 50% off your first month by clicking the link in the description below the video, right down there. Give that a click as you are checking out as you're hitting the like button. But let's take our pivot here to DraftKings. Taylor, run me through a cash build. I see you got 3 guys tagged here. We got Maxey, we got Hart, we got Hartenstein. Take me through the rest of the build.
Yeah, I think the 4th tag would have been TJ McConnell, but I just didn't get around to doing that. He's 4-1 DK. Not the most comfortable value. Should see 18-ish minutes off the bench. He went off in garbage time last night. The only reason I really didn't tag him is because we might get Paul Reed, and I think Paul Reed is a much better value if we get that Embiid out news, of course. But McConnell's still playable in cash, only 41 on DK. Yeah, Maxey and Brunson look great for the same reasons they look great on FanDuel. Both underpriced on DK. Of course, Maxey is great regardless of the Embiid news with the other guys still out. Aaron Holiday's popping into some lineups at only 3-3. Don't want to do that. But you can, I guess, punt if you really want to go all the way down at point guard. Tyrese Halliburton's only 9-9, which is a serious underpay for him, even against the Celtics. I'm not sure you're getting there with Brunson and Maxey also in great spots of their own at cheaper salaries, but Halliburton is great if you can get to him and you want to get to him. The kind of like full punt now that pops is Quentin Grimes for 3-2. Guard forward eligibility. Minutes have been up since the trade. He's another guy that went off in garbage time last night. I think he had like 27 fantasy points in the 4th quarter alone. So certainly not expecting that, but there is blowout potential in this game. The Wizards are awful. Both teams on a back-to-back. There's a path to minutes for him either way. So as of now, he stands out as the best punt value on the slate. On DK, Jordan Poole, maybe. He's only 5'7", but he's just been awful for the Wizards. Don't want to play him if I can avoid that. Certainly in tournaments, if he's going to be catching ownership. Full fade there for me. Bilal Coulibaly, we saw 36 minutes for him last night with Landry Shamet missing from the lineup. Don't think he's a bad play. Maybe more of a tournament guy than a cash play, but happy to look his way. Josh Hart, 4-4, staple of cash, or 4-5, staple of cash lineups at either forward spot. Easy plug and play. Daniel House again, Marcus Morris again are kind of popping into some things. Ideally, we could get to Batum there or just Paul Reed potentially. Julius Randle, definitely playing him in cash. I think Brunson is probably the odd man out among the point guards, or among the kind of mid-range upper tier spends between Randle, Maxey, and Brunson. If you want to wait on the Embiid news, I think Brunson is probably the guy you pass on and you play Randle instead, just because point guard has more options than power forward does. And let's see, John Collins, like I mentioned, maybe, but his minutes have been way down of late. And then at center, Hartenstein, 5,800, way better value on DK than he is on FanDuel. If you want to get to Embiid, he's only 11.5. I think he's actually cheaper than Giannis, which seems a little wrong, but it's the way it is over here on DK right now. Giannis,
it's wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong. But very easy to play him, and happy to pay up for him too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what your build is. In you can play Embiid or you can play both Brunson and Randle. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at things for a sort of cash optimal single entry style lineup. Will, who you liking today for tournaments? I have 2 guys that stand out in particular that I'm really, really loving today. And one is Jaylen Brown. Phenomenal matchup, priced down below 8K here, going up against Indiana. And the other one is Kelly Oubre, who I thought would be picking up a lot more ownership today. As you can see, I bumped him up. He gets the 2nd highest usage bump on the team with no Melton and Harris in there. It's not Embiid. Maxey is 1, Oubre is 2. And so I want to get to as much Kelly Oubre Jr. as possible today in tournaments.
Yeah, I don't hate that call at 5,800. I am in with some Oubre, of course. Still love Maxey. Most of my takes are the same on DraftKings just because of the situation. I actually like Dame even more on DraftKings, where he's 8,800. The other guys are 87 and 85. Once again, strictly for tournaments. Like him a bunch. Embiid, I think, is the must play here. And then when I look at, DraftKings, well, you talked about Jaylen Brown. He was the guy I was considering on FanDuel just because of the inflated pricing. So I don't hate him on DraftKings as well. And also I don't hate Tatum just because I feel like the prices are better in these particular scenarios. So I like these guys quite a bit facing Indiana. Once again, I'm hoping they can kind of get off and just take care of business here. But that still doesn't mean they can't get there in 3 quarters because of the pace of the game. So, like those guys, a ton. We talked about Josh Hart. We talked about Quentin Grimes. I do think, oddly enough, like some of these Utah guys are interesting. It's just I wish I knew that their minutes were going to be like completely stabilized. I'm not against Lauri Markkanen in tournaments on DraftKings where he's 8K flat. Just want to plug him in. John Collins is 4,800. Like his minutes aren't where they were. If I knew he was going to get 25 minutes, I'd probably be more interested. But I still think he's okay for tournaments at 4,800. He is a guy that could produce in limited minutes. And I think he needs a little bit of exposure.
I'm a lot more interested in these Jazz players if Joel Embiid doesn't play. If he doesn't play, that defense is a lot worse. I think this game stays closer, and I have a lot more interest in getting to those guys if Embiid does not play. But we are still waiting on the news. Let's start taking some QQs. Reminders, smash that like button on YouTube. Checking the RotoGrinders Discord live stream chat first. Then I'm going to the YouTube chat second for some QQs. Top 3 favorite props tonight from Chief Trill.
All right, let me pull this thing up so I can. It wants me to. Hold on, let me log in. It won't take long, TJ.
While you're doing that, I'll pull up my favorite because I did write in NBA Prize Picks article today, and so one of mine was it was in the Pick'em streets, not in the prop streets, but if you get the props and Pick'em package, you do have access to both of these. I went Jalen Brunson more than 26.5 points. I went Jaylen Brown more than 22.5 points. And I went Giannis Antetokounmpo less than 51.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Well, we're close there. I got Giannis at 52.5, actually. So I got that. I've got Miles Turner at 7.5 rebounds, less there. Actually, I was able to get Jaylen Brown at 1.5 3-pointers made more.
That's nice. That was gone when I tried it.
Yeah, got that one. Halliburton at 24.5 points. I've got less than that projection.
Tatum, I got Halliburton more than 12.5 assists, so that correlates well also.
Yeah. I've got Tatum less than 8.5 rebounds. This is something I do like every night. I just take Tatum at 8.5, and hopefully he continues to stay. He's gone over a couple times, but I'm okay with that. Tyus Jones at 6.5 assists. I got less than that. And then I ended up on Maxey at 25.5 points. I got more than that projection.
Another one I really like today is Jason Tatum more than 2.5 3-pointers on the same lens as the Jaylen Brown one there. QQ, DK, GPP, last piece, Taylor. Marcus Morris or Whitmore?
I think Whitmore might have a higher ceiling. Morris has a safer path to minutes, so I guess I would lean Whitmore.
DK, GPP, Chief, you want Mathurin or Jones? Tyus, I would assume that is. Tyus Jones.
Mathurin.
Same here for me as well. That's it for the Discord right now. Let's take it over to the YouTube chat. What are your thoughts on Embiid? We still don't know. My lean is that he's going to play, but we're still waiting on that news. So be ready to play, to lock in Paul Reed if he's out, and then to get a lot of Embiid if he is in. Favorite 76er to play on FanDuel, not named Embiid, Maxey, or Oubre, Taylor?
Let's see. I guess it would be Batum, but the first three are quite well ahead of him in terms of who I'd actually want to play.
Favorite cheap... Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I was going to say the issue with Paul Reed, like, it's not really an issue, but he's like 5'6" and 5'7" on both sides. So he's not necessarily a punt just because I guess they preemptively priced him up. But still someone you want to get to in all formats if Embiid is out, of course.
FanDuel cheap value punt, McBride, Grimes, Hauser, or Dunn? The answer is definitely McBride on that one. What about Hartenstein for $17 on Yahoo? Yeah, Hartenstein for only $17. That's a pretty great value. That's like, I feel like would be even cheaper than like a mid 5K price tag for him on DraftKings. So I think that is a phenomenal play over there. Any love for Halliburton in a FanDuel single entry? Will?
Yeah, don't hate that at all. Up tempo game, like he could absolutely get there. So I'm fine with it.
Do we think Philly is covering that 8.5 point spread if Embiid is in? Will?
Yes, I do.
I think so as well. For what it's worth, like that was like 11.5 earlier in the day, and with all these news being out, it's now at 8.5. So I don't think that is like necessarily means they're predicting Embiid being out because they've already ruled a lot of other guys out that could potentially impact the spread a little bit, but just something to keep in mind. You brought up your Taylor, you already brought up a few thoughts on him, so I'll keep with this one with Chief. Any interest in Whitmore as a value piece today?
That was to me or Will?
That was
for
you, Taylor, right? Oh, that was for me.
No, that's
sorry,
Will.
sorry.
Taylor already gave a quick thought on it, so I'll get Will's thoughts on Whitmore.
I mean, I'm not thrilled about it. Like
one of those guys I don't really think about.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Amen Thompson, like just punt, maybe the game gets out of hand kind of thing. But it's pretty thin.
And I probably still feel better about Amen Thompson and Whitmore for what it's worth.
Yeah, I agree with that. Is Kessler a lock if Embiid is out? No. And believe it or not, this may be a hot take. I don't know, because Embiid is one of the best defensive players in the league inside. I actually like Kessler better if Embiid plays. I think Kessler will play a lot more minutes if Embiid plays. Taylor, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think that's right because, they need size against Embiid, and Paul Reed's not 7'1" or whatever Embiid is. So I agree with that.
QQ, Tatum or Randall on a DraftKings 3 max, Will?
Randall.
Taylor, what do you think about Tatum on a GPP and FanDuel?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think Randall's going to be a lot more popular, so Tatum's in a great spot too.
Will, who you got tonight? Colts or Texans?
Texans.
Yes, sir.
FanDuel large field GPP. I'll ask this to both of you. What is your favorite game to stack? And would that change if Embiid is out? Yeah, sorry. I should have directed that to a single person first. Taylor first, Will second.
Yeah, I guess I don't think it would change. I think the best game to stack is still Washington, New York, but Indiana, Boston looks great too. And I think obviously the ownership's going to go to New York in particular. So
Indiana, Boston is the one I'm very interested in too, because we know Boston's going to score a lot of points in an up-tempo game. And Indiana, sometimes, even though it's a pace down spot, even though Boston's great defensively, that sometimes just doesn't matter to Indiana. Sometimes they play so fast that other teams have no choice but to match that tempo. And so I like that as a game stack as well. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, don't hate that. I will say this though. Even if Embiid is in, my favorite might still be Philly, Utah. For what it's worth, in or out, I think that still might be my favorite. I will say this: I do think this is slightly important. I know it's not NBA. Robert Woods is out this week, so man, Nico Collins and and Mechie are probably going to get some serious ownership.
That means I got a lot of adjusting to do here because I got a lot of Robert Woods in there, but that was planned. That was expected. Get my Robert Woods in because you can do at worst just to pivot down to Mechie. And on that note, if you're playing some NFL today, check out SimLabs. You can use SimLabs to generate DFS lineups through the power of simulation. It combines data from every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preferences in just a few clicks. You can have hundreds of well-built, correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. Be sure to check out the link in our description for more info. All combo and NFL premium subscribers have access to the NFL SimLabs tool, whether you want to play whether you want to get some lineups ready for the main slate on Sunday, whether you're playing Showdown tonight, you can use SimLabs for either one. It cuts down lineup building, like the time it takes to build lineups immensely. So if you're building a lot of lineups, definitely check it out. Even if you're building one, you can set your rules, pick your favorite one out of the ones that you built there. It's a great tool to check out if you're playing some NFL. Double checking for QQs here as I do that. Make sure you are smashing that like button for us on YouTube. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm. We're 5 minutes away from lock here, so to make sure you get your lineups in, we are still waiting for the Embiid news. We do not have it yet. Again, this may be coming after lock. Be ready to lock in Paul Reed if he does not play. If he does play, make sure you get lots of Embiid in. He'll be a great tournament play at lower ownership than he typically would have had if he didn't have that Q tag, especially if we don't get that news in the next 6 minutes here.
There's a tweet from Paul Hudrick, who is I guess a beat writer, says no sign of Embiid during his usual warm-up time. So that perhaps sounds ominous for Embiid. But we'll see.
Interesting. Very interesting. So maybe maybe instead of having Embiid as your main, and then Paul Reed as a backup, maybe you start building with Paul Reed in there right now, and you start getting. I think that's what you do at this point. You build with Paul Reed in your main lineup, and you get ready to pivot to Embiid or pivot off of Paul Reed if it doesn't play. I think that at this point, with 5 minutes to lock, not having the news, he's not out there for warmups. You plan for him not playing.
Yeah, and I think something else you could do too is play Giannis at center right now, and then like you can play another guy like another like 5K guy. Like if you're building for single entry, and then if it beads in, you could easily swap Giannis to him, and then swap Paul Reed to like Oubre or something like that. That might be the move. What you say, Taylor? Get Giannis and Oubre somehow in a way that you can swap them if Embiid still happens to play today and you want to get to him. But that's just me, just kind of thinking around the corner there.
Yeah, I was thinking Giannis was going to go completely overlooked if Embiid was in. Now I'm assuming he's going to catch more ownership as a result if Embiid sits.
Yeah, he's going to have to just because of raw points.
Yeah,
I'm going to put in right now a set of 20 lineups just because people may not be able to adjust to this in time. It's a Saturday. We still don't have the news. I'm going to try and this may go poorly for me, but we'll see if it gives me a little bit of an edge. I'm rebuilding my 20 lineups here, and I'm locking in Maxey, Oubre, and Paul Reed. Just going to hit the lock button on all three of them. It's a great matchup. They all should get good minutes. They are the guys who should score points there. And it's still at 7:30. So worst case scenario, I'll be underweight on Brunson and Randall. But worst case scenario, I'll still be able to do some adjusting if Embiid happens to be in here. TJ, the weather report for Saskatoon this week looks terrifying. Literally negative 21 Fahrenheit on Friday. Yeah, it's going to be cold, my man. J3, what are you doing? What are you doing checking weather reports for Saskatoon? And the Philly-Utah line just got removed on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Interesting. Again, get Paul Reed into your lineups. We aren't confirmed that Embiid's out yet, but that is the way it looks. Stroud or Minshew tonight? I'm all aboard the Minshew mania train. Stroud's picking up twice as much ownership today. Give me Minshew as a nice salary-saving option. And then give me my Nico Collins and Devin Singletary. That's the only exposure to Houston I feel like I need in this spot. I'll pivot back to Discord, see if we got anything. OG and Grimes or Hart and Koulibaly? FanDuel cash, Taylor.
OG and Grimes, Hart, Koulibaly. I think it's the. I guess the first one. That's tough.
Hoosier Sang Banner says, "Go Colts, go Pacers, go Hoosiers." A lot of exciting sports for Indiana fans tonight. We are 2 minutes left to lock. I don't want to really let us out of here early in case we get Embiid news. Like,
yeah, that's important.
Like, so
important tonight for sure.
If you got the QQs, let them in, whether they're football or basketball, because we're going to stay here until a few minutes after lock just to make sure we get that news. And smash the like button, because not only are we here on Saturday night providing free content, but we're going to stay past lock to make sure you get this update so we know what is going on here with the Embiid news. The longer we don't get anything, the more I'm going to assume that he is not playing. Because, I mean, if he's just not out there, the chances of him playing are going to be very slim. Darren Unger wants to know, QQ, Pat Connaughton or Grimes tonight, Chief?
Grimes. He's got the easier matchup. And
the line has been reposted at -7.5 for Philly. FanDuel single entry, Taylor, what do you think about Fontecchio as a last piece?
Don't love it just because Utah's rotation is all over the place and a tough spot for them.
I would agree with that. I would say, who is the if you're doing a showdown for Houston and Indiana, who is your captain for that one, Chief?
Probably Tatum or
no. Sorry, Houston, Indiana football tonight.
Oh, Houston, Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis. Yes, my bad. Sorry,
because Houston's playing Milwaukee anyway, and I'm I was like, wait a minute. All right, it's probably Collins or Pittman. They got to be one of the two, because I mean, those are the guys that should have the most catches, the most yards. Like, should be good.
I would agree with that completely. Those would be the first two I would be looking to go with as well. Let's see if we got any QQs left here, and we do not. We have reached lock. Still no Embiid news. Philly -7. That spread keeps dropping again, so it looks like
He's
Embiid
out.
He's out. Did we just get it 1 minute after lock, like you called at the beginning of the show? Nailed it, Taylor.
He is out. Yes, sir.
Good work. Good work. I'm proud of you. So we got Embiid out. Anybody that starts is looking good. For what it's worth, even if we get something stupid like Nick Batum starting at the 4, Marcus Morris starting at the 5, I still would play Paul Reed in 100% of lineups. He's going to get at least 26 minutes. It's a gross center slate. I would prefer like $100. Robert Covington also ruled out. So load up all of Philadelphia today. I think on DraftKings you can play maybe up to 5 of them in a lineup, because play 4 on FanDuel, play 4 or 5 on DraftKings at this point, because they got almost nobody left there today. Hit that like button for Taylor's amazing call at the start of the show, and I feel like we took you through that pretty well. We got a starting lineup: Maxey, Oubre, Batum, Marcus Morris, and Reed. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about the lock of Maxey, Oubre, and Reed right now. This is going to be an exciting slate. I'm looking forward to it. We got NFL tonight. We got NBA tonight. Smash that like button, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us today. We will be back tomorrow morning for some more football content, and then back for another NBA Crunch Time show in the evening as well. Tony 2 times says, favorite 76er, Tyrese Maxey, followed by Kelly Oubre. Paul Reed, followed by Tyrese Maxey, followed by Kelly Oubre. Batum or Marcus Morris? I don't know the format, but which one do you like better, point per dollar, Taylor?
I think now it might be Morris. He is 800 cheaper on DK, which is helpful.
Yeah, I like him quite a bit more as well. They're the same price on FanDuel. So which one are you going to? Just straight raw points?
God, they're so bad. I think slight lean Batum, but
this is when you know we're getting real interesting here. Taylor's like, He's exasperated with that question. Like, oh God.
Clipper cast-offs.
That'll do it for NBA FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. Oh my gosh, one more question. As soon as I do the outro, another question piles in from Boolies in the RotoGrinders Discord. Who is our favorite bring back on Utah? Will, I'll throw that to you.
Laurie Marketing. He's my favorite bring back. Like, I love this game to stack now for what it's worth. Like, this could be some fireworks here.
I agree with you there. I'm going to be any of my lineups that aren't filled with just New York and Boston players now. I'm going to go and hand build some Utah stacks in there as well. Now, that'll do it for FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. Smash that like button on your way out. On behalf of myself, TJ Zwarich, Taylor Smith, Will Priester, the whole RotoGrinders team, have a great weekend, everybody. Good luck tonight. We will see you tomorrow. Peace.